This is Natural Powerlifting Radio. Deadlifts, chicken nuggets, video games. This is Check My Total, a powerlifting podcast with Timothy Payne and Andrew Hinson.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the 100% Made in America Check My Total podcast today. And today we have quite a few people on. We got Keith Payne, who was on our last episode, and then we got Rob Wess coming on with us. I think you've been on with us before.
Oh, yeah.
And then, T-Pain.
Howdy,
and
howdy.
Today we're going to be doing one of our little Mythbuster specials, and we're going to be talking about the myth of the anabolic window, or some people call it the metabolic window. And what this theory is basically after you work out, you have a 30-minute window to drink protein or replenish your carbs or glycogen, or else the workout was meaningless. and that is the anabolic window. You have 30 minutes to replenish your body, or else your workout was for nothing. So,
Yeah.
I guess, I don't know, anyone got any opening? First off, does anyone have the viewpoint that this is not a myth and that this is 100% true?
Well,
All right, silence is compliance.
science says that it is a myth to a big degree, but
Yeah.
everybody's different, and I don't know if it's maybe a placebo effect, possibly. You think it works?
Yeah.
I think that's, for me, that's kind of how it worked. I think I believed in it, so I went with it, and I kind of believe in it because, I felt like I got results, but I can't say it was from just that.
Yeah.
So,
And I think the placebo effect has something to do with it. Because, after you work out, if you eat something immediately, you generally feel better because
that's
you've eaten
what
something.
I took. Yeah. That's what I went with, how I felt and what I felt like I needed to do. Some of the science supported it. Some science doesn't. So what do you do?
It's true. We got to go to more science. It's interesting. If you look it up on Wikipedia, it tells you what it is. But the last line, it says, currently there is not significant scientific evidence to support the metabolic window theory. But it also says, it's kind of, Wikipedia leaves it up in the air. It's like, further research needs to be known to see if it actually is true. Ladies and gentlemen, you're getting your further research today.
At least we're going to try. I'm kind of under the impression that there is a window. It's just way bigger than 30 minutes.
Yeah.
Like, all the studying I've done over the past day and a half, whatever, there's been studies conducted by these universities where they've had people, like a group, while they're doing these studies, a group that stays with their normal diet that they've been doing. They don't change a thing. And then there was a group, where they did their protein in that 30-minute window. Then there was another group that did the protein and carbs, I want to say 2 or 3 hours later. And all three groups had the same exact results. And while they were doing the study, this was at like an Ivy League university, but I can't remember which Ivy League it was. The study was saying that for the protein protein synthesis, I was wanting to say photosynthesis, but that ain't right. The protein synthesis, it is over 48 hours. So you've got 48 hours to get your proteins and carbs built back up. And by then, you're basically just on your regular schedule, eating like you normally do.
Right. Yep.
So Yeah, I guess there is a window because science tells you're under that synthesis for 48 hours, but
Yeah, well,
yeah.
let's just face it. This anabolic window comes from this idea that you need to eat after you work out, which you are at some point in your life, unless you die because you choose not to eat. You're going to eat post workout, whether
Right.
that's 30 minutes later or an hour later, or like even a couple hours later. That's depending
Right.
on you, unless you want to work out and call it quits on life. Then
Right.
I guess you won't ever have a post-workout meal.
Well, I know a lot of times for us, it's just social and trying to build your workout group, like going out to eat after your workout.
Yeah,
You're not even really thinking about your replenishing, but it's just kind of hand in hand. You work out, then you go eat, go hang out. But
true.
Well, for
go ahead,
me
Rob.
too, it seemed I always got hungry during my workout. So I shifted my efforts to make sure I eat before I worked out so that wouldn't happen. And I felt much better post workout once I started doing that. And then just play the post workout deal by ear. I mean,
Yeah,
that
That
seemed to work better for me.
Yeah, that just reminded me of something that I read. One of the studies was also saying how it's also depends on how early you eat before your workout. So if you have like a pre-workout meal, it's not as important to get your
Right,
meal, your
right.
post-workout. But if you didn't eat nothing 2 or 3 hours before you work out, then it's more urgent that you get your post-workout meal.
And there's some stuff out there too that if you train in a fasted state, like early morning before breakfast, then the 30-minute window, anabolic window, there's some significance to that.
I did see a lot of that. So I guess we'll get into that. Yeah, let's get into that. So I ran into quite a bit of working out fasted, and it was kind of interesting. It went down a little rabbit hole. And it did appear that if you fasted for like 12 to 16 hours, then you needed to eat something after you worked out because
Right.
your body was just so low.
Mhm.
Also found that a lot of people that did intermittent fasting and worked out when they were fasted showed slightly lower levels of testosterone after an 8-week period of
Right.
intermittent fasting training. But it's hard to judge because that study was over 8 weeks, which is not a long time. So the long-term effects of intermittent fasting seems, is not a very great study on that.
Right.
But the anabolic window seems to be more viable, and it's more of a thing of you haven't eaten in like 16 hours, man. Like, come on, like
Get you a piece of steak or something. But Dad, the reason I wanted you on this podcast is, weren't you saying that there's studies now coming out that that you actually store protein and your body's getting it from reserves than actually what you're eating at that moment?
I have heard doctors talk about these studies, but I've never looked at them personally.
Okay.
But, I think it would be crazy for us to believe that our bodies can store fat and carbohydrates and not be able to utilize amino acids, when it needs to. What makes this thing a 100% myth to me is when you start putting a 30 or 45-minute deadline on that, and then say, your workout's no good if you don't eat within 30 minutes.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
That just reeks of marketing by these supplement companies.
Yeah.
And then what are you measuring saying that it's it was a total waste of time. What's your
Yeah.
measuring tool? What progression are you looking at to say that?
Yeah,
Because I could definitely argue against it.
what makes anybody believe that if you eat 15 or 20 minutes after you work out, that there's going to be any blood in your digestive tract or intestines or anything else? I mean, all your blood, I mean, common sense tells me that all your blood's going to be in your muscles.
Mm-hmm.
And your body is not going to be ready in 5 minutes or 10 or 20 minutes to ingest and digest anything.
Right.
I think it's pretty, another common sense thing to me would be, yeah, you need to replenish and, eat, an hour or maybe 2 hours later. But I don't believe that your body's already working on trying to recuperate from what you just did as far as the workout goes.
Right.
And I think the nutrition that it's using is nutrition from beforehand. In other words, pre-workout meals or whatever. I don't think your body just stops and waits on you to eat or drink before it starts repairing.
In 30 minutes.
Yeah.
Or it does something different.
Yeah. That's just ridiculous and crazy.
Yeah.
To believe that you got to have something in 30 minutes.
I think there's a lot of other factors surrounding it, but I can say that I've during a pre-contest training cycle, changed from post-workout window nutrient timing or whatever to focusing on pre-workout meals and never lost any progression throughout the training cycle.
Right.
So how could you say it works or doesn't work?
Yeah.
And I'm saying that with, I'm being very regimented and everything. So that's a pretty significant change if everything's in place and that's the only thing that changed.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
But yet the training continued to progress as planned, So.
Well, and again, I think most of us, when we start talking about taking or ingesting nutrition or whatever in 30 minutes, most of the time we're actually thinking about, some kind of supplement or whatever.
Right.
And I'm old enough to have grown up in a time where supplements were not readily available.
Mm-hmm.
And nothing like it is today. And there's a lot of strong suckers back in the day that never saw a protein shake or amino acids or branch chains or whatever, people want to use.
Mm-hmm.
So, I don't know. It's just hard for me to believe without thinking that these supplement companies don't have a little bit to do with this 30-minute, 45-minute idea.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, they have to, because think about it. If it's a 30-minute window, you can't go home and cook a meal and have it already and done in 30 minutes. So you're almost forced to pop a protein shake or something.
Yep.
Right. I agree.
It's all a conspiracy theory to get me to spend money on those big old tubs.
Yep.
Uh-huh.
On the non-regulated supplements.
Mm-hmm.
No FDA regulations.
Yeah, if y'all roll up to the GNC, read what you're taking.
Exactly.
Just a little tip for anybody listening.
Yeah.
Well, and the other side to this thing is, if you're on some kind of steroid or other chemicals, your anabolic window is probably 48 hours or better. just because of the drug. So, if I'm jacked, I'm not worried about supplements all that much anyway, as long as I'm getting whatever macros or whatever I need on a daily basis, and
Right.
calories and all that. I'm not even worried about it.
I've read on this topic we're talking about, I've run across that very thing being the bigger factor than the worrying about the 30-minute window.
Absolutely. I believe that.
As a whole, throughout the day, getting everything right is more important than that 30 minutes.
Yeah.
Yep.
And
100%
I tend to agree with that. Yeah.
100% agree. Yeah, I found a couple studies from a couple of different websites. This one's from PubMed, but I don't even know what to call it. I think the guy's name who's associated with it is Hoffman and Radames and Trakina. I don't know all these scientist names. But anyway, it was a study done from the Department of Health and Exercise Science on the College of New Jersey in Ewing, New Jersey, wherever that's at. But I think I found this one on a website called Stronger by Science. This is where I found this study. But this is they took 33 men, and they were randomly assigned some type of protein supplement, and they either got it in the morning or evening, and it was provided right after a workout. And then they had a control group that didn't. Anyway, they do this, I think it's 10 weeks of training. And they came to find out that all groups, the ones that had protein immediately after and the ones that didn't, they all got stronger, and there was no effect at all, it seemed, in any type of body or muscular change. So that study seems to prove what we're talking about here.
Yeah, that sounds like the same thing I read. I think that's the same thing I was talking about earlier.
Yeah.
But thank you for, giving the correct source. I was just going to leave everybody hanging. But Andrew and I spoke a little bit before we got on the podcast. What were you saying about, you think it's probably, how am I trying to word this? But anyways, somebody that's a more advanced athlete, it probably matters more.
So I've found one study, and this is also from NCBI. It's an academic study. I think it's similar to PubMed. It's one of those pub reader sites. But what it was saying is, now this was for more advanced lifters, people who have been training for a while. They said the only significant thing that they could find in a more advanced person who did eat within 30 minutes is they found like they had a slightly higher nitrogen level. Right. And that was about it. But it wasn't enough to really make a huge difference. But they were saying it's kind of like that mindset of, well, if you are advanced, and you're just really trying to eke out every single penny you can, then maybe you might have higher nitrogen levels if you do it, but that's not necessarily meaning you're going to have better results and get stronger.
But having a positive nitrogen balance is important.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Positive nitrogen balance definitely promotes muscle growth and protein synthesis and all that. So there is one thing, but that was for more advanced people. Apparently if you're a beginner, it doesn't have that effect. Like you just don't get that yet. Not so. This is just one study, by the way. I did not find any other studies that said this. So, This was the only one I found that said anything about the nitrogen levels. By J. Physioanthropol. This was in 2014. So yeah, 2014. This is when this study was published. By Hiyosana Mori. Apparently he worked on it too. I can't pronounce these scientists' names.
Well, I don't know. Even after listening to everybody talk, I still don't think it matters when you're getting it.
Yeah, and what a lot of people bring up, is that if this is your major concern, this should be like tier D on your list. Like,
Yeah.
Like you have to do everything else right before you even begin to think that this 30-minute window is actually beneficial. Now, if you're like Rob and you just feel better because you're hungry and you want to eat, then go for it. Like, I mean, if it makes you feel better, go for it. There ain't nothing wrong with it. But I don't think you can say with confidence that if you don't eat within 30 minutes, your workout is complete phooey.
I agree.
So
too many factors to play into that to say that 30 minutes does all that.
Yeah.
Agreed. But there is something to say that if you believe in something hard enough, even if it's wrong, it'll get you pretty far.
Well, here's the thing. I believed that I trained better when I was not hungry. So I eat around training time, whether it's before, after, or both. And it worked. So
yeah.
I don't know what science has for that or what that means.
Yeah.
All I know is I screwed about 25 years worth of workouts.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, because I didn't know this breaking news.
There.
Yeah.
Somehow you made some gains in there.
Yeah, somehow.
So how does it not work?
Yeah, I think what's happening is, at least from my time, it seemed like it used to be, well, I mean, way back before I was born, there wasn't any supplements. And then supplements became this big thing, a big money machine. And then all these studies started coming out. Oh, you need like 2 or 3 grams of protein per body pound that you have. And that's so much. Like, you're going to tell me that if you weigh 200 pounds, you need to be consuming like 400 grams?
Yeah.
Like, good night. But, now... Yeah, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, I think the first thing you need to look at is who funded the studies.
Exactly.
And I think if you go back and try to retrieve that information, you're going to find out a lot of these things are funded by the very people that are, out there trying to sell stuff.
Yeah.
That is a lot of it. Unfortunately, the problem, a big problem in the fitness world is you can find a study to back up almost anything.
Exactly.
Almost anything.
Yep. And
I mean, that's a it's a real big problem in the fitness industry and a couple others, but you can't, some industries don't lean that way. Like you just can't, like in programming, man, you can't just tell me that something fell out the sky, man. I can run it on my computer and tell you it don't work. But like fitness, man, because everyone's body is different, and let's be honest, most of these studies are trash. Most of them, because they either take, first off, when studies say we took 10 trained males, I don't know what that means. What do you mean trained males?
Right.
Like they trained for running, they worked out once, they're not 20,000 pounds overweight. Like, I don't know what that means. I have no idea. I don't really see many published studies that say we took 10 power lifters or we took 10 bodies. It's like 10 trained men. It's like, okay, well, thanks. I don't know what that means. And then most of your studies generally probably only last 6 to 16 weeks at most. So you don't have a lot of long-term studies done, which is understandable because I mean, can you imagine? Hey, let's get these people. Let's get 10 people. Tell them they have to intermittent fast for 5 years, and then we'll check their results. Like, I get it. It's almost unfeasible, but that's one of the huge problems with a lot of studies in this field.
Mm-hmm.
Which is why you can find something that almost backs up anything you want to believe.
Right.
So, I mean, I'm with Keith. You know, you got to look at who published it, where is it published, who did the research, who were they funded by. Try and see if you can find multiple studies that can back up a claim. Things like that. But yeah, it's a mess out there for some people.
Well, you know, do your own research.
Yeah.
Try it. See what you think.
Yeah. That's true.
I think if it gives you a positive feeling, then something's happening. Go with it.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, the human body's weird, man. No one's the same.
Nope.
But on that note, you know, the human body also hasn't changed much in a long time. So
True.
So at the same time, you know, what worked 200 years ago probably going to work today.
Yep. Especially when it comes to something like lifting weights.
Yeah.
About as basic as you can get.
Exactly. You know, it's not changing until we start integrating with the machine. And I turn my bicep into a robot, and it has like a 2,000 ton poundage limit. Then we'll start talking.
Yeah. And of course, you know, we're talking about raw lifting. You can't compare raw to equipped or anything like that. But, yeah. What do you think about this myth? Is it busted?
I think it's busted. I think it's busted. Don't go telling anyone you have to eat within 30 minutes or it's over. You know, all your gains are gone. Don't go tell them that. But hey, at the same time, there ain't nothing wrong with eating right after. Go to the Chinese buffet.
I would lean toward the myth side.
Okay. I do. Yep.
Say that again, Rob.
Huh?
You think the myth is true, or you're saying it's a myth?
I think it's somewhat of a myth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But, you can't say indefinitely one way or the other.
Right.
But if I got to choose, I'm going to lean that direction.
Like Rob said, try it yourself, people.
Well, that's my whole thing. I think it's garbage, but if you want to eat 30 minutes after you train, there's no law against it.
Yeah.
You know, help yourself. I don't have a problem with that, but I just think if you're going to say, you know, if you eat 31 minutes after you train and you're training, you wasted the whole training session. I think that's garbage.
Yeah,
extreme analogy.
Yeah.
But hey, it sells my protein powder, so.
Check my total protein.
Yeah, check my total protein powder. You're gonna open that up and gonna be a piece of chicken.
And there's a 30-minute post-workout window you have to consume it.
That's right.
I think that's another podcast idea there, though. You know, do you want some whey protein, which is basically a byproduct of was garbage 30 years ago? Now people sell it for $48 a bucket.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that is a good topic.
Or do you want to eat some real food? I fall on the real food side of that story.
I was going to say, we've talked about that recently, actually, and you're uncovering some stuff where you don't need as much protein as we always thought, because something along the lines, your body's getting it from other sources. I just vaguely remember our conversation, but
Yeah, you really don't need that much. I think it's something like, people are saying, oh, you need like 2 pounds per pound of body weight. Now I think it's like most people are like, yeah, if you get like 0.05, 0.04, or no, sorry, 0.5 or 0.4, you're probably going to be fine.
because it's getting trace protein from all the other different sources you're not accounting for.
Yeah.
For one.
Well, just go look at real food and see what the percentages are in real food.
Yeah.
I bet you that's about what you need. And, when we started isolating, macros and started, making protein drinks and carb drinks or whatever, I think that's where we went wrong, is when we started separating the macros. If you eat the macros in its natural state, which is basically real food, I think you'd be fine.
Right.
But,
We'll just have to call y'all up again and have another podcast.
You'll have another another myth.
Yeah.
Another.
It might
myth
remain a
busting
myth. We never know.
Yeah.
That's true. One thing I wanted to clear up on my intermittent fasting thing. I mentioned that if you trained on a fasted state, that your testosterone was lowered slightly.
Mhm.
That is because in that study, the people that intermittent fasting were on a very slight calorie deficit, and when you get on a calorie deficit for the first little bit, your testosterone levels shift down a little bit, and it's not permanent. But
that's the exact reason I started focusing on pre-workout meal and not being hungry during my strength training.
Yeah.
Because I felt like that contributed to testosterone production, which is way more important than worrying about a 30-minute window anyway.
Yeah. But eventually it balances out again.
It does, because you're going to eat anyway.
Yeah, it eventually balances out, and it's fine. No big deal.
Which now you go back to what Keith mentioned earlier about what you consume for the whole day is more important.
Yep, 100%.
So,
well, I think the only thing you could throw into this discussion that might alter what you believe about the timing of your workouts is if if you're a runner or you're some kind of other kind of athlete other than weightlifting, you may work out 2 or 3 times a day. And, I do believe you ought to have some kind of intake as far as nutrition between workouts. Mm-hmm. I wouldn't want to work out 3 times in a day and then eat after it's all over.
Well, that's more of an energy thing, ain't it?
Yeah, that more lands on the glycogen.
Yeah.
Glycogen. I can't spit that word out, but it's more a carb thing than it is a protein thing at that point.
Uh-huh. Yep.
Yeah. Well,
I think
that about does
that was a pretty good one. I think we busted this one to death. I think we killed this one.
Come back and busted it again.
Jumped up and down on that thing, but I believe though if you're concerned, go ahead and eat 30 minutes after the workout and eat again 30 minutes after that if that's what you need.
Yeah, if it makes your mind feel better.
Makes you feel good. Go for it.
It's kind of like wearing baby powder, I guess.
Yeah. Gotta love that baby powder. Maybe next time I compete, I'll draw a smiley face with baby powder on my singlet. On my belly.
Hey, that was hip there for a little while.
Hey, that's true.
Yeah. Well, go ahead, Andrew. Break us down.
I'll break it down. You heard it here from the Check by Total podcast that there is no such thing as a 30-minute window that you have to eat or your whole workout is gone. It is a myth. Busted. 100%. Kapow. shattered on the ground. There is nothing left of this myth. It's all over. The only thing that expires in 30 minutes is your will to work out. You need to learn that because you're weak. You're weak if you can't make it past the 30-minute workout, unless you're doing one of those crazy cardio things where you're running like 90 miles an hour. Then you can't do that for 30 minutes. Trust me, I tried. It don't work. I huff and puff and die. So maybe I do need to eat after that one. But that's just because I don't run, and that's because I don't like running. Stay in the gym. Stay fit. It's always bow time on this podcast. Get some Bojangles if you haven't. I just got finished eating some. Restored my glycogen with that seasoning on them French fries. Dry out like a snail. Ladies and gentlemen, that's it for this podcast. We'll see you on the next one.
We're out.
Are you tired of having to pause on the bench press? Well, September 14th, Iron Boy is reintroducing the Touch and Go. Come out to North Wilkesboro, North Carolina to support the event. It is the regional IBP push-pull and bench press classic. We hope to see you there.
Please subscribe and thank you for listening. Be sure to follow @CheckMyTotal on Instagram for all the latest updates.